God before us, God beside us, God behind us, God above us. Be also now between us, a bridge through which your truth may move. In the name of the one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Keep laughing. Laughter is good. And I can't talk about laughter today without telling a good joke, or at least I think it's good. I laughed when I heard it recently. It's about a woman who is in her mid-80s who is marrying for the 4th time. She had been widowed 3 previous times, and now she was marrying husband number 4, so the local paper decided to interview her. So the interviewer asked her about her current husband-to-be. She said, well, he's a funeral director. And so the funeral director said, well, the interviewer said, tell us about your 3 previous husbands. She said, okay. Well, in my 20s, I married a banker. In my 40s, I married a circus ringmaster. And in my 60s, I married a clergyman. And so the interviewer kind of laughed a little bit and said, well, those are very different careers. A clergyman and a ringmaster, circus ringmaster, a banker, funeral director. What drew you into relationship with men of such varied interests and diverse careers? And she said, well, I married 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, and 4 to go. Cue the laugh track. Hopefully some of you laugh. There are healing powers in laughter, and we can all use a good laugh, particularly in these days of social distancing and the new normal of our future, or whatever it is. We could use a good laugh. There are healing powers. It reduces pain in many ways. When we laugh, it produces hormones called endorphins, which help with pain. It lowers our blood pressure. It increases our oxygen level, which gives us more energy. It strengthens our immune function. A good laugh produces T cells, interferon, and immune proteins called globulins. I have no idea what any of that means, but I do know that a good laugh reduces stress. It puts things into perspective. Something that seemed out of control, a mountain the day before, if you can laugh about it, it gives it a reasonableness. It puts it into the right perspective. It can even make it flat ground that you can move forward into the future. It even triggers creativity in many ways. But there are different kinds of laughter. I mean, there's that laugh, laughing at a joke, hopefully. And then there is this kind of laugh. Ha! Yeah, right. Like that's going to happen. How many times have you said that? I have said it probably too many times. It is the laugh of one who has lost the expectation that anything can change, has lost the hope that anything will get better. Sure. Right. Yeah. How about this? Will you please take out the trash? Yes, I'll do it right after the game. Yeah, right. Like that's going to happen. Let me tell you my dreams. Yeah, right. This time it will be different. I am going to sober up and get focused and get a job, and then it doesn't happen. I'm sorry I yelled at you. I'm going to control my temper, and then it doesn't happen. The other kind of laugh is the laugh of the cynic. It is the laugh of despair. A laugh that has lost all hope that anything will change, that anything will get better. It takes the surprise out of life. We are left with nothing but a bitter chuckle. And years in a situation that hasn't changed. Years of broken promises in a world that seems out of control can sap us of humor. This cynical laughter is the laugh that I hear in today's lesson from Genesis, from Sarah. 24 years has passed since God first called the aging Abraham and the barren Sarah to go forth from their father's house, from their homeland into the world, and he would make them a great and mighty nation, that their descendants would be as numerous as the grains of sand. And so they energetically, probably with the laugh of surprise, he's chosen us, moved forward into the future, into God's promise. And now, almost 25 years later, there is no child. So where are these descendants going to come from? There is no great nation. They are still moving about, and she is still barren. They, in many ways, have lost a certain amount of hope, I'm sure. So many years, and what seem like, at least in their eyes, is broken promises. And so Sarah and Abraham are in their tent, and three strangers stop by. Now, they're angelic strangers, but Abraham and Sarah don't know that they are angelic strangers. They don't know that they're messengers from God. But they show them hospitality, which was common in the ancient world to show all strangers, all visitors, hospitality. From Hebrews, remember, show hospitality, be kind, because you never know, you may entertain angels unaware. And so Abraham starts talking with the visitors, and Sarah is listening from her tent. And one of the visitors told Abraham that they would return, and in due season your wife Sarah shall have a son. Now, they haven't been able to have children for 25 years after they were promised children. I mean, Abraham had Ishmael through Sarah's maidservant, Hagar, but that wasn't what they were looking for. It wasn't what they were expecting. It wasn't certainly what Sarah wanted. And so Sarah was listening to this promise that he would return and she would have a child. And she's already in advanced age. They were in advanced age when they got called. Abraham's 99 years old, and Sarah is well past the age of childbearing in this time, or any time for that matter. So Sarah, when she heard this, laughed to herself. After I have grown old, she says, and my husband is old, shall I have pleasure? And the angelic visitor calls Sarah out on it. He says, why did Sarah laugh? And Sarah denies it. I didn't laugh. And the angel says, yes, you did laugh. It's kind of one of those, I didn't do it. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. It was the laugh of the cynic. The laugh of one who had lost hope. Hope in the promise. Hope that it would be what she wants it or what she expects it to be. He promised this, and I'm still here waiting. Things haven't changed. And this laughter, Sarah's and ours, truth be told, begs the question, is anything too wonderful for the Lord? Or put it another way, is anything impossible with God? I think the visitors were inviting Sarah to laugh, but not the cynical laugh of one who has lost hope, but the laugh of one who sees the world in all of the things that don't make sense, all of the things that seem desperate, all of the things that seem impossible, but that are in the control of God, in His power and His promises. To laugh in this way, and to let the surprise back into life, into her life. This laugh that says all things are possible. It's the laugh of hope, not the laugh of despair. And it is when those things that seem out of place or that don't agree in our lives meets God's surprising grace and promise that we can see laughter. Ben Patterson says it's a different take on the pop psychology slogan, I'm okay, you're okay. Only with the gospel, it's I'm not okay, you're not okay, but it's okay. Because it's in the hands of God. We may think of this as a rhetorical question. Is anything too wonderful for the Lord? Is anything impossible with God? But it remains unanswered. It remains unanswered for Sarah, and it remains unanswered for each of us in our own lives in many ways. If we answer yes to this question, then we have not confessed God as God. And if we answer no, there is the challenge to move forward into the unknowable future, to move forward into tomorrow and trust in God's promises. And that is what Sarah ultimately did. She moved forward. The Lord dealt with Sarah as he had said, and Sarah bore a son, and she named him Isaac, which means he laughs. But it is not the laughter of the cynic who says it is impossible with God. Why try? Why do it? Nothing will ever change. But it is the laugh of the one who realizes that this world at times does not make sense, but that God is in charge. There was cynical laughter at the announcement, but wonderful laughter at his birth. Sarah said at the birth of Isaac, God has brought laughter to me, and everyone who hears will laugh with me. God's promise is true. His presence is sure. His strength is revealed. Reinhold Niebuhr, the great 20th century theologian, said, humor is the prelude to faith, and laughter is the beginning of prayer. There's a great story about a man by the name of Charles McCoy, who was a Baptist minister in Oyster Bay, New York. And his denomination mandated that he retire at the age of 70, and he was approaching the age of 70. They were forcing him to retire. He was a lifelong bachelor, so he didn't have family to be with in retirement, so the retirement was scary. He had all of these degrees, 2 PhDs, so much to share. Had cared for God's people for a lifetime. And now he was faced with idleness, facing it alone. He said, when he thought about it, he was depressed. I just lay on my bed thinking that my life's over and I haven't really done anything yet. And then McCoy was invited by an Indian missionary, a missionary in India who wanted him to come and preach in India. He had invited the missionary to come preach at his church in Oyster Bay years before. And so McCoy didn't have anything better to do, so he said, sure, I'll come. And so he loaded up a bag and went to India. Only when he got there, there were a few surprises waiting for him. When he got there, his luggage was lost and they couldn't find it. So all he had were the clothes on his back, his wallet, and his passport. So he got the address of the place. He recognized it from a missionary magazine because all of the other stuff that led him to this place was in his luggage that was now lost. And so he went there, and when he arrived, he found out that the missionary who invited him was still in the United States and might remain there indefinitely. So now the one who had extended the invitation wasn't there. Everything was going wrong. Nothing was going right. It seemed that all was lost. And so they asked McCoy, what are you going to do now? And he said, well, I came here to spread the good news of Jesus, and that's what I'm going to do. So he made an appointment with the mayor of the city, met with the leaders of the church, and they had a revival. And that launched a 14-year career for McCoy in and around India, spreading the redemptive gospel, forgiveness, and grace that we have through Jesus the Christ. Caring for God's people for another whole career almost. When all seemed lost, when all seemed hopeless, McCoy did not laugh the laugh of the cynic that said, yeah, right, this is what always happens to me. Nothing, my luck will never change. But he moved forward into tomorrow with God. How are you answering this question today? Is anything impossible with God? Is anything too good, too wonderful for the Lord? How will you respond? How will I respond to God's promises? Will we laugh the laugh of the cynic, the hopeless, bitter chuckle that looks at the world and things that have always been and think, well, things will never change? I can never make a difference. We can never affect change in systems that have been in existence for so long. Or We're too small for that. It's too big for us. And will we remain paralyzed in the way things have always been, sapped of all expectation, sapped of all humor, sapped of all creativity? Or will we laugh the laugh that looks at the world and all of its tangle of confusion and impossibilities and say, nothing is impossible with God? Amen.